Joining us now in studio, former Minnesota Democratic Congressman and 2024 Democratic presidential candidate Dean Phillips. We quote him multiple times. There's a chapter in the book called Dean Phillips in which we talk about your attempt to bring attention to this. First, you tried to get other Democrats to run against Biden to bring out what you had been seeing behind closed doors. They wouldn't run, so you ran. Now that this has all come out in the book and the Her tapes and what we see of Biden when he goes on The View, et cetera, how do you feel?
I'm incredulous. I mean, how could one not be? And what you exposed and Alex exposed in the book only infuriated me more, if that was even possible, to see the names, to actually understand the timeline when I was trying so hard, not to be the guy, but just to be the guy that called attention to something that the real leaders in the room had the power to do something. And I got to say, Jake, but that's combined with I'm incredulous, but I'm inspired. And to everybody watching right now who wants to litigate the past, I know we have to, but the only benefit that comes from this is if we don't allow it to happen again. And I'm really on a mission to create competition, political competition in America. The lack of honesty, the lack of integrity, the lack of competency, the lack of belief and trust in people, in whom I had a lot of it, just begs for America to really reconsider why we allow a duopoly to control the most important industry in America, which is our democracy. And that's how I feel right now.
Well, I want to get to it sounds like you're talking about a third party, and I want to get to that in a second, but I do want to litigate the past a little bit because it's important. I know the Democrats like Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and others are like, oh, we just want to look forward, we want to look forward. Can the Democratic Party move forward without acknowledging this? To me, it's like the Republican Party, what they had to go through with Iraq, with the war in Iraq, which was obviously a mistake. And the American people came to see that before the politicians did in a lot of ways. What does your party need to do? What do the people running for president need to do? Jeffrey, Schumer, because you're not the only one I interviewed for the book. And almost all of them, almost everybody of the more than 200 people I interviewed and Alex interviewed, understand that this was real and this was a problem.
Oh, very simple. It's courage and honesty. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, I think, wrote, honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. And if we don't reflect on the lack of honesty from the White House all the way down to House leadership to members of Congress, and by the way, this is not unique to the Biden enterprise and the Democratic Party. This is a symptom of a broader disease.
Oh,
but how it starts with honesty, yes. And Jake, the sad truth is, having now been a member of Congress and seen firsthand how this incentive system works, I do understand why this happened. And that's why we have to change it. The why is because if you wish to become a leader, if you aspire to national office, if you get out of line, and now I know why nobody would accept my call or take that charge to enter the primary, because if they had, and it hadn't worked out, their political career was over. So I think this begs the question about how do we create a new incentive system for people who are rewarded for being honest and people of integrity rather than being punished, and that's what we're doing right now.
So the Biden campaign puts out this statement, we continue to await anything that shows where Joe Biden had to make a presidential decision or where national security was threatened or where he was unable to do his job. In fact, the evidence points to the opposite. He was a very effective president, unquote. I mean, I don't think anybody who reads the book would say that the book doesn't show that. But what's your response?
My response is that was true in his first term. And had he been a one-term president, which he had at least insinuated he would be, this wasn't about his first term. I think he accomplished some extraordinary feats in conjunction with us in the House. But the issue was running again. I was not a savant, Jake, you know that. I didn't have much access. By the way, nobody had much access. But what I saw with my own eyes.
Behind closed doors, and like on Air Force One, and you were shocked. And that was like 2022.
Exactly. And not shocked because I thought this was a man who was incompetent or senile, but shocked by the decline in his communication skills, his gait, and his leadership capacity. That's something you sense when someone has it, and it saddened me. In fact, I think Joe Biden's a wonderful man. His compassion, his decency, his empathy exhibited to so many I know, and personally, even after I left the race, the decency of this man is extraordinary. Those around him, the leaders that knew better, a media apparatus, which I think has to be, we have to shine light on that.
100%.
MSNBC in particular, the deplatforming of anybody who would have the audacity to call that question.
I think they've barely even mentioned our book.
I'm not, well, that makes two of us. And you gave me platform Now, do I wish you and others had maybe investigated some of these things a little bit more then? But I understand why, when there's an apparatus designed to undermine, to threaten, and to replace facts with misguidance, I understand why this works. But when I hear that, this was not about his term number one. This was about why he should run again in the face of his decline. But most importantly, Jake, this was about the numbers. And every single poll that came out said the same thing. He wouldn't win. And I was trying to simply call attention to what every person who was paying attention saw.
So I think a lot, and let me just speak for Alex Thompson, who broke stories about, and he's my co-author, who broke stories about Biden, in terms of the investigation of this. Alex did a lot. I did a little. I wish I'd done more. I've said that before. I wish knowing now what I know, I wish I'd done more. But a lot of the issue is, we talked to more than 200 people. Almost none of them were talking to us until after the election. They just refused. They wouldn't answer our calls. They wouldn't tell these stories. Then there was this deluge after this existential threat of Donald Trump was a fait accompli, and they wouldn't. And now they're speaking. What do you think would have happened if Biden had agreed to debate you, which he refused to do? But that was, you told us, that was the main thing you wanted when you ran for president against him. You wanted a debate.
And it was my gravest disappointment in my party, the Democratic National Committee, to not create a simple platform for just one of those, which I think should be an absolute requirement of someone running for office. And I did not want to embarrass Joe Biden.
But you wanted people to see.
But I wanted people to see, because look, I had seen him four times. I'd seen him in a couple of years, and those 4 times, face to face, smaller rooms. That's all I needed to see. This was not rocket science. This was not you have to investigate a little more. My colleagues in more senior positions saw him much more regularly. I never would have anticipated a debate that looked as bad as the one that did in July of 24. I simply wanted Americans to see what I had seen, and the White House had prevented that opportunity at every step of the way, and I think that is a massive failure of the party, and I was only asking for a competitive primary, and the absence of that is why Democrats now find ourselves in this position.
They shut you down. They kept you off ballots, and they tried to keep you off a ballot in Wisconsin. We're going to have you back. I don't think this book's going away. Obviously, you want to get rid of the duopoly, which poses some intriguing questions, so please come back to talk about
Anytime.
that. Dean Phillips, whole chapter about you in the book. You were right. And the people that tried to defenestrate you in your party and others in the media, I would say I did not defenestrate you.
Thank you.
We're wrong.
Yeah, well, let me say, if this is vindication, it doesn't feel that good. Success would have felt good, and most importantly, prospectively, preventing it from happening again is what matters.
A competitive Democratic primary would have been good. Dean Phillips, thanks so much.